Hello, you're watching VNA News Bulletin. I'm Ngọc from Hanoi, and now the headlines as usual. National Teleconference reviews state administrative reform. Vietnam-EU trade value reaches $21.2 billion in 6 months. Vu Lan Festival considered as beauty of Vietnamese culture. On August 17th, Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc chaired a teleconference to review state administrative reform in the 2011 to 2015 period. Also present at the teleconference were Deputy Prime Minister Chiang Hoa-binh and representatives of 19 ministries, as well as leaders of all 63 provinces and cities through online connections. Prime Minister Phúc underscored the importance of personnel work and reiterated that the government is determined to build itself into a transparent and action-minded cabinet to serve the people and development. He suggested reducing the number of civil servants and increasing their income so as to better serve the people and businesses, adding that over 2.6 million people are being paid by the state. On the occasion, the leader asked ministries, agencies and localities to pay attention to inspecting people-elected agencies and trade unions, practice thrift and cut down on necessary overseas trips. At the event, the Ministry of Home Affairs released the 2015 Public Administrative Reform Index, which placed the State Bank of Vietnam as first, followed by the Ministries of Finance and Transport. The Ministry of Science and Technology, Industry and Trade, Information and Communications ranked at 3 final places of the list, respectively. In the rankings of cities and provinces, the central city of Da Nang took the lead with 93.31%. It was followed by Hải Phòng, Đồng Nai and Thừa Thiên Huế. The central province of Quảng Ngãi, the central highlands province of Kon Tum, the northern provinces of Cao Bằng and Điện Biên were at the bottom of the index. The Vietnam Fatherland Front Central Committee hosted a conference in Hanoi on August 17th to collect feedback on the draft law on belief and religion. Our reporters have more details. Delegates said the draft law on belief and religion has protected the religious freedom of people from all social strata, as well as the practice of religious organizations. The document has dealt with bottlenecks in administrative procedures regarding the state management of beliefs and religions. Religious organizations enjoy more rights under the draft law, which affirms that religions are entities with a legal personality in the society, he said, adding the religion's involvement in such areas as publishing, education, healthcare, social welfare, and humanitarian activities is stipulated in the document's articles. Other participants highlighted new articles prescribing the freedom to change religions, along with the religious freedom of prisoners. They said religious activities must aim to strengthen the great national unity bloc and serve the country's industrialization, modernization, as well as its national construction and defense. The Vietnam Red Cross organized a conference in Hanoi on August 17th to make preparations for natural disasters and run first-ever calamity response drills. Vietnam Red Cross Chairwoman Nguyễn Thị Xuân Thu said the annual event aims to update and review the organization's preparation for natural calamities and its emergency response capabilities. In the drills, a stimulation scenario featured a storm as strong as the 2013 Super Typhoon Haiyan, which made landfall in the central provinces of Quảng Bình, Quảng Trị and Thừa Thiên Huế, causing huge losses of life and destruction of property. The practice included updating information on damage and reporting to the central level, and launching the response mechanism at the central level before, during and after the hurricane. Other activities involved communication work to enhance public awareness of natural disasters and mobilizing international and domestic resources for recovery. As a member of the Central Steering Committee for Natural Disaster Prevention and Control, over the past year, the Vietnam Red Cross has helped enhance the awareness of natural disaster prevention and response among communities and schools. Trade value between Vietnam and the European Union gained a year-on-year growth of 9.05% to $21.2 billion in the first half of this year. According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade's European Market Department, export value from Vietnam to the EU increased by 8.68% to $16.2 billion, and import value of Vietnam from the EU surged by 10.28% to $5 billion. Vietnam mainly exported traditional products to the EU, including textile, garment, footwear, and coffee, in addition to seafood and computer. Vietnam especially started exporting telephones and components to the EU in 2011, but the export value of those products in 2015 reached $9.7 billion and accounted for 75% of its total national export value to EU. In addition, some other products retained growth between 5% and 10% per year in export value, though they did not have large export value, including plastic products, wood and wooden products, handbag, suitcase, and umbrella, apart from paper and cashew. In the first 6 months, Vietnam mainly imported from most of EU member countries products that the nation had not produced or which they liked, such as machines, equipment, tools, and pharmaceutical products, in addition to milk and milk products. Over the past years, the trade relationship between Vietnam and the EU has grown rapidly and developed efficiently. The bilateral trade value increased by 10 times, from $4.1 billion in 2000 to $41.2 billion in 2015. Of this, the export value of Vietnam to the EU surged 11 times, from $2.8 billion to $13.8 billion, while import value from the EU to Vietnam rose 8 times, from $1.3 billion to $10.4 billion. The southern province of Dong Nai exported $8.7 billion worth of commodities in the first 7 months of 2016, a year-on-year increase of 4.35%. According to the Provincial Department of Industry and Trade, the slow increase was attributable to world falling prices of a number of products and less orders for wood products from Japan and European markets. The implementation of a number of free trade agreements lowered tariffs on several products, therefore reducing their export value. Some exports that enjoyed higher year-on-year growth included coffee, footwear, computers and electronic spare parts, and means of transporting spare parts. Meanwhile, the province's staples such as garment, fiber, wood and steam products saw a low export growth. Dong Nai's export value is expected to grow faster in the rest of the year when businesses step up production to fill side orders, helping the province fulfill its yearly export growth target of 11 to 12%. Last year, the U.S. was the leading market for provincial exporters, with total goods value shipped to the market reaching over $4 billion, while the import turnover from the country was $1 billion. It was followed by Japan with nearly $1.3 billion in export turnover and $700 million in import value. A variety of mooncakes have hit the market with more than a month to go to the Mid-Autumn Festival. More in the following report. Unlike the previous years, famous confectioners like Kingdom Modelers, Dong Khánh, BBK, Hiểu Nghị, and Givro have this year come to the market even before the self-lunar month. Kingdom Modelers began its mooncake season nearly a month ago by exporting a batch of products to the U.S. At home, it has launched 62 varieties ranging from traditional style cakes to modern variations with abalone, Alaska shrimp, and crab. Dong Khang Food and Foodstuff Company said that it has introduced nearly 20 kinds of mooncakes this year. BBK Corporation has increased supply by 11% this year to 550 tons. It has set up some 500 kiosks, in addition to 12,000 shops that will sell its cakes. There will be 50 products in 3 lines: luxury, nutrition, and tradition, besides fruit mooncakes for online customers. Many of the confectionery firms predict demand for mooncakes to give relatives and business partners will increase this year. Seeing the potential, Dong Khang decided to produce some high-end products. This segment will account for up to 10% of the company's total output, and its production will be 50% higher than last year. The Buddhist festival of Vu Lan, which falls on the 7th full moon of the lunar calendar, has been exceedingly popular in Vietnam for many years. This is when people express their gratitude and love toward their mothers. These days, the holiday has gone beyond the religious meaning and has become something like a Vietnamese version of Mother's Day. The festival originates from the story of one of Buddha's 10 great students who enlisted the help of Buddhist monks to save his mother's soul. A number of people flock to pagodas, where people whose mothers are still alive wear red roses. Those whose mothers are deceased wear white roses. The rose is a symbol of love and sharing between parents and their children, which is a reminder to people not to forget their parents, but to be dutiful and respect them. The festival, with its special meaning, is in line with Vietnam's tradition of worshipping ancestors, and filial piety has now become part of Vietnamese people's cultural lives. Locals and tourists flock to the ancient town of Hoi An to celebrate the 40th annual Hoi An Japan Cultural Festival. Now join us to take a look. Hoi An City is a typical symbol of the long-term relationship between Vietnam and Japan. The first Japanese businessmen came to Hoi An to boost trading and built the Japanese town 400 years ago. The event is the biggest rendezvous for the Japanese community living in Hoi An and the Central region, and the chance for people in Hoi An to experience Japanese culture. Cultural performances, photo exhibitions, sports activities, fashion show, and folk games took place on stages at the city's rest stop site in Bac Dang Street, the Sculpture Park, the Old Quarter, and the Japanese Bridge.
Nervous from me to be a singer.
The space for the festival is arranged impressively. A new thing for this year's event is a vegetarian food festival.
The UNESCO recognized World Heritage City launched Say No to Meat Day, aiming to encourage people to eat vegetarian food for better health.
We will show you a clip on the environmental.
Say No to Meat Day is a campaign of significance to the community and tourists to Hoi An and Sinh Thao. It helps us to be more aware of the need to protect the environment and animals, along with taking care of our health.
Vegetarian food stalls were set up in the park for visitors on that day. People from the Central region traditionally eat vegetarian meals on the 1st and 15th day of the lunar month. And that has wrapped up our news bulletin. Thanks for watching and see you next time.